Well, good afternoon and welcome to She Bites Daily. I'm your host and raging feminist, Mandalena. It is Monday, June 10th, and these are your major Metoo news to noon. As the Women's Soccer World Cup nears, the men who run the sport are being ousted for repeatedly using their positions to sexually harass and abuse their female players. Since the beginning of 2019, a slew of coaches and administrators across 5 countries on 4 continents have been ousted by players and colleagues of sexual misconduct, sexual harassment, and rape. Vice President of FIFA Ahmad is now being internally investigated by FIFA's governing body after he was accused, among other things, to have fired an employee in 2017 after she rejected his advances. President of FIFA Gianni Infantino, who is close friends with Ahmad, is also denying stories of sexual harassment from several women within the soccer federation. Women's Whitecap coach also was ousted of sexual misconduct. Ahmad is the first to face sexual abuse ousting among the 6 regional governing bodies. Ahmad also has been accused of misusing confirmation funds and entering into dodgy contracts with potential offenses that lead to his detainment by French authorities in Paris last Thursday. And Ahmad has been released without being charged. On our own front, Vancouver's own Whitecaps has also been ousted in the past for inappropriate behavior by Bob Baranda when he was head coach of the Whitecaps women's team and Canada's soccer women's under-20 talent pool in 2007-2008. The alleged incidents included rubbing a player's thigh, sending players sexual text messages, making lewd comments about a player's wet jersey, and then ignoring a player in training, games, and team meetings after she stopped replying to his personal messages. A U.S. Army appeals court overturned a West Point cadet's rape conviction last week, siding with a defense theory that the victim engaged consensually, highlighting the abhorrent flaws in the military's tight-knit justice system. At a time when sexual assaults across its training academies are on the rise. The cadet Jacob D. Weisenhunt had been convicted of 3 counts of sexual assault against another cadet in her sleeping bag during field training on July 7th of 2016. Weisenhunt had been sentenced to 21 years in prison and a military dismissal. Weisenhunt actually served 25 months in prison. He testified that the assault was escalating consent, while the woman who testified against him said she remained frozen in the fetal position during the entire assault. There were 3 judges on the United States Army Court of Criminal Appeals, 2 women and 1 man, who agreed that the woman was unlikely to remain quiet during the sexual assault. A Defense Department survey found that unreported sexual assaults rose 50% between 2017 and 2018. Japanese women are thanking the Metoo movement to say no against barbaric dress codes that include heels. A Kutu movement is taking place in Tokyo, Japan. The hashtag is a play on the words for shoes and agony. The woman behind the movement, Yumi Ishikawa, a 32-year-old actress and writer, told the Associated Press that it's time to address gender discrimination. She says, It's the view that appearances are more important for women at work than for men. I like my job right now, but wearing pumps is really so hard. But of course, if you want to wear them, please go ahead. Japanese laws guarantee gender equality, but women like Ishikawa have known it's been a real-life daily problem, she adds. Shoes are so everyday, people can more directly see the issues of people's dignity and rights, and so shoes may lead to a better world. Michael Douglas is piping up about Me Too in Hollywood at a conference in Burbank, Los Angeles called Produced By. Douglas sat next to friend Danny DeVito as he claimed to support women and how the Me Too movement is bringing change to Hollywood. Douglas said the Me Too movement has been phenomenal in bringing women into the industry more than ever before. He adds, I think it's also time we be kind to each other. We know there have been some mistakes by a lot of people, or some people, but I don't think it's a large population. I do feel it's important to remember we all mutually love this process and to be kind to each other. Earlier in the conversation, Douglas referred to what he describes as atrocious behavior on the part of executives he knows who have behaved in pitch meetings and auditions, although he did not elaborate on who, when, where. In January of 2018, in a conversation with Deadline, Douglas denied accusations from a former female colleague, stating, "I support this Me Too movement with all my heart. I have always supported women along the way. This is the kind of step that can set that movement back, being accused without a chance to defend yourself in court, to not even really have the information in front of you to be able to argue or defend yourself. There is no due process, no chance of seeing evidence in front of me from my accuser." Douglas currently stars on the Netflix series The Kominsky Method, which he won a Best TV Actor Comedy Musical Golden Globe for. These have been your major Me Too news to noon for June 10th. Please stand by for today's She Bites commentary on the extended phenomena of not all men to not all workplaces. Today's commentary is fueled by the continuous rhetoric people, and usually men in power, use to help them keep up with appearances and, I suppose, sleep at night regarding their unreckoned and ongoing Me Too toxic world. A good example is the last three powerful men in Hollywood, including Michael Douglas, Michael Caine, and George Clooney, who made public commentary alleging that they are on the Me Too bandwagon, while Me Too muting by avoiding talking about their male counterparts acting inappropriately, as well as themselves, or they think rape culture and sexual misconduct is no longer a problem in their Hollywood work bubble. Ironically, like I said, all three men have been accused of sexual misconduct at some point or another in their careers. So how is it these men, or people who want to protect their reputation and workplaces, are still able to spread their rhetoric? Let me pull up a little photo that I put for this. Here we go. How are they able to spread false allyship narrative? Easy. Survivors and whistleblowers are being silenced across the board by the entities we are targeting with powerful tactics and tools that they use against us, like NDAs and vilifying. Silenced by the complicitness of our community and leaders, and turned away when given a chance to speak publicly, either by media or by community leaders. My Furious 5 Me Too warriors and I often joke about the Me Too mingles and speeches that are often taking place across Canada right now, where survivors and Me Too whistleblowers are not being asked to speak, while politicians and supposed leaders put on Me Too buttons and inappropriately interact with survivors. Think Joe Biden and Harvard Law survivor Camilla Willingham when he infantilized her by putting his head on her head at the 2016 Oscars when she was there representing the documentary Hunting Ground. It reminds me of the time I gave an open public speech, which was sponsored by unions, when I was told as soon as I got off the stage by a leader that my story was sexy. That was one of the only speeches that I gave in my Vancouver community. The silencing and removal of Me Too survivors and whistleblowers is rampant across the empty Me Too accountability wasteland. It also reminds me of my good friend Kelly Donovan, former police officer turned whistleblower, who was not invited to be a part of the new RCMP overhaul board, who alleged they are looking for a Me Too in Blue reckoning. Why would they involve a woman who has dedicated and lost so much in order to force change within an institution that continues to silence her to this day in court? The reason is because women like Kelly and myself, and the women that we know, are not willing to waver from the truth. We risked a lot to tell those truths, and unfortunately we haven't had enough people yet who are willing to risk the same, particularly people in power, leaders, and people who have a lot to risk. We will press on and continue to speak to truth and systemic historic sexual abuse, sexual misconduct, rape against women across institutions and corporations until a revolution takes place. This has been, ooh, that was a heavy one, right? I feel good about that. This has been today's commentary and your major Me Too news to noon for June 10th. As always, please do, if you have any stories or story ideas, tips, comments, please shoot us a message in the text below or at an email to shebitesmedia@gmail.com. And please do make sure to tune in tomorrow for another daily dish of the She Bites Me Too cycle. Here we go. Until then, survive, disobey, and document.